Yes, definitely. Yeah, he was a good learning experience. As my husband was a learning experience, that he exposed me to things in life that I didn't know about, like camping and fishing. And some of the things he exposed me to, I liked. I liked camping and fishing, and I didn't know I would like those things. And other things I didn't like. Like, I didn't like cooking, and he liked cooking, and that was nice. He did more cooking than I did. Especially, ooh, I thought it was very funny. I would go fishing with my husband as long as I didn't have to put the bait on the hook. I didn't do that for years. I didn't put the bait on. He put the bait on the hook, and he put the fishing line over if we were in a boat, and he put the line over in the boat. And then he would hand me the reel, the rod and reel, and I could hold it. And then when there was a hookup with the fish, I got a fish, I got a fish. And he'd say, reel it in, and I'd reel it in, and then he would catch it, or take a net and lift it up and out. My husband would clean the fish, and he would cook it, and I would eat it. That worked out good between us, and he was happy doing 99% of the whole preparation, and it exposed me. I mean, it was years later that I began to feel sorry for my husband, who was not only getting my fishing line ready, but our children's fishing lines ready, and then he finally got to fish, and there would be backlash in our fishing line, and he would undo. So I felt sorry for this man who was exposing us all to such fun, and then I began to participate more. I put some bait on the hook, and I would be willing to try and take the fish off the hook.
Oh, that's interesting.
I wasn't very good at scaling the fish, but he exposed me to things, and it enriched my life. And part of it was because I was willing to try something new. He brought me to the door of something new, and then he opened the door and allowed me the choice of walking through to take the experience or choosing not to take the experience. And he accepted my decision. Like, I don't want to do that, or I'm willing to do that. And so I had a richer life by trying things. Like marriage. I had a wonderful marriage and 3 great kids.
And how did you meet like some of his cohorts? I mean, did he meet like Oscar Janiger? Were they buddies, or Mr. Cantor, Harvey Cantor?
Yes, Oscar Janiger and my husband eventually became partners in their psychiatric offices, and they worked together. And on Oscar's research on LSD, and I think some of it was through Oscar's efforts that Leonard got exposed to Aldous Huxley. There was some lecture, and that's how that started. So Oscar Janiger became a very close friend. He and his wife and their children were all intimate, close, long-time close friends of Leonard and mine. We would go camping together, and Oscar had a few wives, and we were close friends with the wives also. Helen, and was Oscar's first wife, and then later was Vigili, and who was a rock carver. Very interesting, lovely woman.
Didn't Oscar or somebody start some harmonic event? Some sort of event that maybe Vigili was involved?
I think maybe I met Oscar before Leonard. I was a counselor at a camp at the Jewish Center Association, had a summer camp, and I was a counselor at this camp. It was my first camping experience where I was a counselor. I felt like a big kid, so I was a high school graduate. I was a camp counselor, and Oscar came to camp as the camp doctor. And he and his wife, Helen, were on their honeymoon at the camp. So and then there was an epidemic, a measles epidemic broke out in the camp, or was it smallpox? and everyone had to be vaccinated, and the camp doctor had to vaccinate everybody, and so it was a very exciting time. It was a horrendous camping experience. The sewage system got overflowing, and some young man, camper, in lifting on a pickup truck, putting the wooden side struts in where this young man lifted up the wooden slats that went around the back, and he severed his tongue. And they had to take him to the hospital, and everything worked out okay. But that was another incident in the camp. And then the sewage system overflowing, and there was a romantic something happening between two people at the camp that was gossip, and it was a very eventful summer experience. And there was hiking up. In fact, they even spoke at Oscar's funeral, talked about the hiking experience that we had. To go up to a certain height, you were a pink punim, and if you went up a little higher, you were a red punim. Red punim is a word in Jewish for face. So, I was a pink punim, and Oscar got all the way up to camping up, hiking up. So Oscar was an outstanding singer and harmonized. So in doing camp songs, singing camp songs, he sounded good.
Can you take a break for 1 second?
After this camp experience, it made me see how good I was as a teacher, as a leader. And I went to college, I started at UCLA, and my major was education. And eventually I got a teacher's credential, and wanted to be a kindergarten teacher because that was my first experience of being with lots of children, and I was very happy. I felt that in my growing up, I was almost an only child. My siblings were many years older than I. I had a brother 14 years older than I, and a sister 9 years older, and another sister 7 years older. So when I was growing up, I felt like they were all big people and I was little. And kindergarten in my first year at school was a very happy time for me. So I went into teaching, although initially I thought I'd become a physical therapist because I liked helping people and getting people to move their bodies. So it's interesting to me to see now the work I am doing and have been doing, well, I guess the last 50 years, has been getting people to move. Initially it was getting them to move psychologically, and then it was getting them to move physically. So I led encounter groups with George Mach and with my husband and with Oscar Janiger and with a Gestalt therapist in Laguna Beach. And then what I found was that I liked motivating people. I did dance therapy at Camarillo State Hospital, working with young people. Some were deaf, some were blind. These young people were residents at this psychiatric facility. That was an eye-opener for me. I worked with Trudy Shoup, with Jerry Salkin. I worked with Ann Barlin. And then I began working with seniors, well, into adult education first, and then into the geriatric field. So I've taught people how to swim who are terrified of the water. I developed a technique that within 2 hours of instruction time with me, people who were terrified of the water or people who did not know how to swim could swim the length of a pool.
Nice.
On their own. And I thought, even I was impressed that a person could do that. And I have taught swimming for at least 30 years, and I have had one student, only one student,